Premier drums. I have a sweet spot for Premier drums. My first professional kit was a set of Signias I got in 1997. I still have them. I keep thinking about selling them, and I won't. But this is not a Signia kit, and this is not from 1997. What are we looking at here today?
Well, first, Mike, how you doing today?
Got it? That's your mic.
Yeah, I'd like to start off, apologize for my bad mic technique, apparently. So this is a Premier kit. It's from the 70s. I haven't looked up the model name, so I don't know the model name. Frankly, I don't even know what they called their black wrap. I should, but I don't.
It's black.
Black, yeah, we call it a black drum kit. Yeah, and I thought it would be good to kind of talk about this as we're kind of going through some of the history of drums. Like, this isn't anything crazy or, unique. They're just good drums. Mm-hmm. As you said, they're made overseas in England. And these four drums here, the rack tom, the two rack toms, floor tom, and the bass drum are all African mahogany. So,
sound unbelievable. I did a demo before here that you can check out. It's unbelievable. Fat. Didn't have to touch a tuning rod on a 40-year-old drum kit.
Well, that's one of the things that I think is really good about Premier is I think a lot of people who come are like new to vintage drums. Their biggest concern is like the hardware. It's so old, but Premier is really known for good chrome. Mm-hmm. All their hardware is super solid. They probably have the best telescoping spurs. You probably can't see them if there's a button there.
I love that. I had no idea that was a feature. So you just push it. It has a spring in it, I assume, and it just releases it. Easiest old spur I've ever messed with.
Yeah, everything. It's all super solid. It works really well. It cleans up really easily, and they're really really well made. Probably, I'd say overall, if you're talking like general for a company, just better than I think most American companies, if I'm being honest. But they're not as desirable because they're not American, which is kind of the catch-22.
Which is weird.
Yeah, it is
super weird. I don't understand why. I mean, we were talking before that Ringo Starr, who essentially created the American drum market after Gene Krupa, he started out on Premier drums. And it's funny that it didn't carry the same cachet.
What makes you wonder, like, he played it was mahogany duroplastic. And it kind of is like a root beer strata, really cool looking kit. That was his color. And then he came to America and he played the Ed Sullivan Show and he played the Oyster Black Pearl. But it makes you wonder, like, if he didn't do that, what it would have done. Not to go down a little bit rabbit hole, but up before, I think it was 1963 or 64, where he played Ed Sullivan. It was like Slingerland was like the company. So many Slingerland kits will come through before then, but anything that's like a pre-serial Ludwig kit is a little less common. Mm-hmm. But yeah, really, I mean, I say that every podcast. I love these drums.
And you can buy them today. No. Well, let's talk about some things that kind of surprised me. These are massive wing nuts that I didn't expect, but they still work great. A double wing nut on the tom mount. I've never seen that. It's like grabbing it from both sides.
Well, two's better than one, Mike.
And it's got an elliptical, is that the right word? Elliptical shaped, an oval mount instead of a round mount.
My geometry teacher is very mad because I don't know what shape that is. Is it a rhombus?
It's not an oval. I don't know what it is. It's not round. It's a flattened circle, whatever that equals. But
it's kind of nice because like all the Ludwig ones were circle.
Yeah, and they just constantly spin. This isn't going anywhere at all. Serial numbers, were they good about maintaining that?
I don't think so. Maybe. I mean, like I said, I don't pay a lot of attention to serial numbers. Maybe I should.
It says 7478. Would that be 74 is the year, possibly? Who knows?
Well, this one says 4292.
Okay, so it's not from 42.
4991. And I got all these drums together. So there is a chance that maybe they repeat, but I don't think that they don't look like they were. And I'm pretty sure the 13, 14, 16 configuration was... I actually had a gold silk, I can't remember what it was called, polychromatic gold. That's what it was. Same configuration a couple months ago, but it was beat to heck. Mm. But it still sounded great.
Yeah, mahogany shells. Didn't expect that. Was anyone else at the time doing all mahogany?
I mean, Ludwig did mahogany, not as much in the 70s. That's a good question.
I don't know if there was. I think of it being like a 1950s makeup with WFL and
through the 60s. But it's African mahogany.
Yeah, it's the good stuff. This is
apparently
the good
African
stuff.
mahogany is better than non-African.
I mean, it's unbelievable how affordable these are. considering if you got a new kit made with African mahogany in this setup, several $1,000s.
Three-ply. I mean, they're three-ply drums, so they're thin. They have reinforcement rings, which is, if you're not familiar with those are, help drums to resonate, and they keep them warmer, I guess, keep the shells in round. So we talk, me and you sometimes about like modern drums. Like a Ludwig Legacy kit, which has those reinforcement rings and the thinner shells, is like, what, $3,200?
Several thousand.
You go back 20, 40, 50 years in time, and you can get a kit with for literally a fraction of that cost.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So don't be afraid of checking out some old Premier drums. These hoops are really nice.
Right. So they did that. Well, obviously, they did that because it's on there. But that was an option. They did that. It was an option to get the silver and black.
Love it.
And
it
they
looks
used
like
the 3/4 inch inlay too, which is thicker. Like it's kind of what Gretsch did. The thicker kind of inlay, the strip.
What are some other
really
cool?
Classy.
What I think maybe is the weirdest thing is they put tiny little thumb screws on the floor tom leg brackets. That's kind of weird.
I'm going to put my mic down. Don't yell at me. So I just noticed this. This came off another kit. This is what the inside looks like. So it's got this one long kind of wing screw.
Oh, that's one of these jobbies?
Yeah. Well, this for that, and this goes in the inside. But for some reason, it was missing. So I just never cleaned this up. But it's kind of the same kind of mechanism on the inside of these, I think.
Smaller thumb. Wonder why they use the smaller thumb screws.
I think they have to, because if you use a bigger thumb screw, it would hit the drum there.
They could have found a happy medium. You could use one of these.
They did make some improvements on these from like the 60s. So in the early, and again, I'm not like a Premier expert in any shape or form, but at some point they were doing what are called pre-international sizes. And those are just metric sizes.
Oh, weird.
But it wasn't all the drums. So like, I think that the 20-inch bass drums were never pre-international. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think I read that or learned that somewhere. But then like, if you had a 14 floor tom, it wasn't pre-international. Wasn't an option, but like a 12-inch tom was, a 16-inch was. So sometimes you'd get a kit and you'd have like two of the drums could take classic regular heads, and then the other ones you'd have to get custom metric heads. And Remo makes them.
Right.
But it's just a pain. You get a kit and you're like heading it up and like, oh.
Yeah, we sell those at DFD.
Yeah. These are all stamped international sizes. So I think that they pretty much stopped doing that when they got into the 70s.
The heck does that mean? They were just doing a metric equivalent? What the heck does that mean?
Pre-international means it was like I don't know why they called it international. Say metric.
What does it mean?
I don't know. But the important part is that you couldn't put a regular head on it. I had this kit, really cool, was all cleaned up, ready to go. Went to put the rack tom head on, did not fit.
Too small or too big?
Too small.
Too small.
Right, and then, excuse me, too big. I'm getting all mixed up.
The shell was too big, or the head the shell was too big?
And then I ordered a hoop, and then you have to have a pre-international hoops. So they're like, enough of that. So these are all they take regular heads. I think that they're probably a little bit undersized because, heads fit really nice on these. You can spin them really easy. Typically, I like to have drums that are a little bit undersized because it allows the drum a greater tuning range. Mm-hmm. Also, they got away from using slotted tension rods.
Thankfully. I hate those things so much.
Yeah. So these are just regular tension rods that go into the swivel nut here.
So is the Prime era 70s if you're going to look at Premier then? If you get past all these weird anomalies?
I think some of the wrap finishes in the 60s are really cool though. But I think for me, I like the 70s. I think that for whatever reason in that area, that kind of era in general for drums, companies just kind of got better. Mm-hmm. Like the mid to late 70s Slingerland, they're like, all right, sharper edges, we're going to seal the insides. A little bit got better with their QC in the 70s. So that's kind of like where I lean because stuff is better, sounds better too, I think. This snare, I didn't even talk about the snare yet.
This might be one of the best sounding snares I've played.
This is I'm going to get this wrong, PD6021, I think is the model name. Don't yell at me if that's, because I don't know why they just didn't give it a name. But it's an aluminum drum, so chrome over aluminum. So they're kind of taking the Supra idea. You can see some light pitting on here if you look at the photos on the website. But I think a lot of people will get this mixed up with, they have a Olympic and a Premier version. It's just a regular steel drum. And it kind of looks similar. I think this has like the Beverly, I think they call them cosmic lugs on them. And the throw off is kind of a giveaway too.
So that's the biggest difference, is the lugs are different and the throw off is different.
Well, but it's an aluminum shell.
But otherwise you wouldn't know it's an aluminum
It's
drum.
kind of hard to tell because the bead looks similar, and I don't know, just like there's not like distinctive features with this drum, but it's really light. That's kind of like the first thing I noticed. And it sounds awesome.
Unbelievably good.
There's like a couple drums that people call the Supra Killer, and I kind of would put that in the same category.
And again, that era Supra, it's going to be at least a third more expensive than what you got it.
Probably like $350, something like that. It's $200 for this. So
there you go. Don't sleep on Premier drums, especially from the 70s. They're pretty special.